Hi everyone, I'm Marcy, and today I'm making albondigas, which if you don't know is Spanish for meatballs. This is basically a traditional Mexican meatball soup that's healthy and delicious and just perfect for this time of year. First, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's get cooking. There's a couple different ways that I make albondigas, and probably the one that my family makes the most is a meatballs in rice soup. That's really delicious and I love. But I do know that most of you are probably more familiar with meatballs in a broth that has potatoes and carrots and other vegetables in it. So that's a version that I'm going to be making today. And I'll put all the ingredients and amounts in the description box below, but just keep in mind that this is one of those recipes that you just kind of make to your own liking. So it doesn't have to be exactly the way I make it. So here's what you're going to need. 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef, half a cup of uncooked or partially cooked rice. Now I'm going with partially cooked, and what I did is I just cooked it for about 4 minutes, no more than that. I drained the water and then let it dry out on a tea towel. This is going to continue cooking in the meatballs themselves. You'll also need 1 egg, 1 onion, 1 garlic clove, 2 Roma tomatoes, 3 potatoes, 1 Mexican squash or 1 zucchini. Since I have both, I'm going to throw them both in. You'll need 1 to 2 carrots, 1 stalk of celery, a couple of tablespoons of olive oil or the cooking oil of your choice, 6 cups of chicken broth, and in case you don't know, when you buy it in a container like this, it is 48 ounces. And then you'll need salt to taste, about half a teaspoon of crushed black pepper, and then a tablespoon of whole cumin seed. That's probably one of my favorite ingredients in this whole recipe because you not only taste the cumin, but you actually see the little seeds in the meatballs themselves. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm first going to get all my vegetables peeled and chopped and ready to go. And now that that's done, I've got the ground beef in a large bowl, and to it I'm going to add the rice, about 1/4 cup of this onion because I'm reserving the rest for the broth. I'll add in the salt, the pepper, whole cumin seed, and the egg. And with very clean hands, I'm going to get in there and get all the ingredients well combined. Now I can form this into individual meatballs, and you can make them whatever size you like. Traditional albondigas are probably about the size of a golf ball, which is how I usually make them. You just want them to be fairly consistent, so the cooking time is the same for all of them. Once you've got them all made, just set them aside. Next, heat a large saucepan over medium-high heat and place a couple of tablespoons of oil in there, just enough to coat the bottom of your pan. Then toss in the remaining chopped onion and sauté it for a few minutes. When the onion starts to get translucent, add in the chopped tomatoes and the celery. And let it all cook down a few minutes more. Then we can add in the minced garlic. This smells so good. And if you don't believe me, ask Miley. That's good, huh? Next, we can add in the chicken broth. We'll need every drop of this. And by the way, you can use beef broth if you prefer. Once it's in there, give it all a good stir and let it come to a boil. Once it starts to boil, you can start dropping in your albondigas. Just be careful not to drop them from too high up because you don't want this to splash and burn you. You want to drop them in nice and low. Once all the meatballs are in, reduce the heat just a bit and let the meatballs simmer.
Your total cooking time starting at this point will be about 30 minutes, but because the other remaining ingredients don't take as long, it's just the meatballs for now. When they've been cooking about 15 minutes, we can add in the potatoes and the carrots. And we're going to save the squash for the very end because it doesn't take very long to cook and we don't want it to get mushy. About 8 minutes after we put in the potatoes, we can finally add the Mexican squash. This should only take about 7 or 8 minutes more of cooking time and everything will be cooked just right. It's at this point that you'll want to check for salt. The meatballs are perfectly seasoned with what we put in earlier, so I'm just checking the broth, and I do need to add probably about half a teaspoon.
Poor baby. Sorry, Miley. I'll make you something good tonight, okay?
Once the squash is cooked tender, this albondigas soup is done. I'll turn off the burner, cover with the lid, and let it sit for just a few minutes. Then I'll grab a bowl and serve myself a nice big helping.
This soup looks so good with the hearty albondigas and then of course the beautiful colors from those vegetables. I can hardly wait to try it. And these meatballs, they cut nice and easily because they're so tender. This is so good. You know, I really love the texture of these albondigas. They've got the onion and of course the rice, and you taste the whole cumin seed. It's wonderful. I haven't even had the potatoes yet, but I already know they're gonna just melt in your mouth. This really is a wonderful recipe. I hope that you try it.
Thanks so much for checking out this video. If you liked it, be sure to check out some of my other soup recipes. I also appreciate you giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing if you haven't already. Until next time, blessings from my kitchen to yours.